Hello everybody, it's Mr. Truth here, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a scouting report and evaluation of the University of Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton III. I'll start off this report and evaluation by listing all the games, all the game film that I have watched of Joe Milton at quarterback for Tennessee. Start off with the 2022 season. Some of these he had limited game time in. That is versus Akron, versus Missouri, and versus South Carolina. Also played versus Vanderbilt in 2022. And in the bowl game, played against Clemson. Now to the 23-24 season, where he played against the games I watched. Versus Virginia, versus Florida, versus UTSA, versus South Carolina, versus Texas A&M, versus Alabama, versus Kentucky, versus Missouri, and versus Georgia. Cannon arm is a bit of an understatement when it comes to Joe Milton, or at least I think that way. Joe Milton legit has arm talent that rivals some of the current biggest arms in the NFL, such as Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. The list goes on, and you get the point I'm trying to make. I'm honestly of the opinion that if Joe Milton tried his damnedest, tried hard enough, he could probably put a hole through somebody's chest with one of his passes. One-way trip to the ER for sure. Now, jokes aside, I'm here to analyze his strengths and weaknesses at quarterback. So with all that being said and everything out of the way, let's start off with the key upsides of Joe Milton's game at quarterback. Now, I don't think I really need to mention how big Joe Milton's arm is, but I'll mention it anyways. We are doing an evaluation video on him, so I have to mention it. Obviously, he has the biggest arm in this upcoming draft class, and nobody, not a soul, is going to debate me on that one. He can launch a ball flat-footed, on the move, or standing in the pocket to almost any spot on the field that he wants to throw it into. He will be able to zip it into any window he pleases to throw into, and is not shy about taking risks whatsoever. He's sort of akin to a guy like a Brett Favre, and without the whole welfare scandal thing, but he's sort of like a Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. He's not afraid of taking a chance or taking a risk, taking a shot into coverage, which I like. You need some, an aggressive side as a quarterback, and that's something I liked about Milton on the game film. Milton is also super impressive athletically, as he's able to not only get around the defenders, but run them over completely. Now, Heupel, the coach for Tennessee, drew up a lot of QB run plays with Milton, and for a pretty good reason. He's athletic enough to consistently run zone read and QB run plays, and will always keep the defense respecting his athletic ability. He has great mobility, good straight line speed for a guy who just has a huge frame, which we'll get into a little later. But for his size, he really can move in and out of the pocket, and it really impressed me on game tape how fast Milton actually is, and that's going to test well at the combine for certain. Now, NFL general managers will surely be drooling and clamoring over Milton's 6'5", 235-pound frame. Now, it is very rare that a QB of Joe Milton's size has the athleticism that Milton possesses. If you could build a quarterback in the lab, it would probably look something like Joe Milton looks. Add his monstrous frame to his already amazing upsize, and you have a potential superstar quarterback in the making. How in the world can you go wrong with Joe Milton III at quarterback? Well, it's where the positives ends, folks. It's time to get into the key downsides of Joe Milton's game at quarterback. Now, one of my main concerns with Joe Milton is how often he relies on his fastball. Some of his more inaccurate and poorly located throws could have been prevented if he had just thrown the ball with a bit more touch on it. Sometimes you just cannot get the football over the defender with a straight line bullet pass. Now, Milton surely will need to learn how to put more touch on his throws, or it's going to cost him big time. And he did show that he can throw with touch a little more this season, but still, there's an over-reliance of his heater on the game tape, and I just straight up, to be honest with you folks, I didn't like it because it's not showing versatility as a quarterback. If you have one type of pass, you're going to be throwing incompletions and turning the ball over all day, every day. Now, Milton also has a pretty noticeable problem on game film with overthrowing the ball when he's throwing the ball deep. This can be caused by, once again, the lack of touch he'll sometimes put on the ball, or just sometimes he puts too much mustard on it and it's going to sail completely above the intended wide receiver's head. This is one of Milton's most glaring issues on game film, and it shows up a lot on the game film where he just overthrows it because he doesn't want to put touch on it, because he wants you to just throw it as fast as he possibly can. I understand he has a rocket-like arm. It's a straight-up cannon for a right arm that Milton has. But his reliance on just throwing it as hard as he can is not going to fly in the National Football League. That is for damn sure. Now also, his mechanics can often look very robotic at times, and combine that with the fact that he will often throw flat-footed doesn't make this issue of his poor mechanics any better. This is a super bad habit and can lead to constant overthrows and misfires that are not even close to reaching the intended target. Inaccuracy caused by generally poor mechanics will drive any head coach completely insane at the next level in the NFL. Joe Milton, he can't keep this up in the NFL. If he wants to try to get a starting spot for a team, he's got to refine those mechanics. And I'm certain that an NFL QB coach on whatever team he lands on is going to make sure that he is mechanically sound enough to play in this league. Now, here is my main problem with Milton's game. It is how unbelievably hit or miss he truly is. One play, Milton will sling it 45 yards down the field into a tight window where only his receiver can make a play on the football. And then the next play, he'll horribly overthrow somebody by 5.5 yards. Sometimes it honestly seems as if Milton gets out of a rhythm incredibly quickly, which in my opinion is the main reason why he's so hit or miss in the first place. And a quarterback that cannot stay in a rhythm will not last long for any team in the NFL. And those are the facts. If he can't just get in a groove early in the game and not rely on his fastball and just stick to the game plan, he's going to be just fine. I think he can be a starting caliber quarterback. But he didn't really show much of that at Tennessee, and that is my main concern, is he gets out of rhythm, he can't establish a rhythm, and he's just too hit or miss. Now, Joe Milton as a quarterback prospect is interesting, to say the very least. Right now, his flaws are very concerning, hence why I just can't justify him going anywhere near the first round of this year's draft. Now, this is mainly because, most of his issues he has with his game, including his mechanics and overthrow issues that are so glaringly bad and obvious that no team would even bother taking the risk of selecting him early if he can't figure it out. Now, nonetheless, he is the definition of a pro-style quarterback, as he will certainly have the versatility to play in any offensive scheme that is currently being used in the NFL. Now, Milton absolutely has the chance to be a great quarterback in the National Football League, but some of his cons are so alarming that teams might just pass on him for more complete prospects at the quarterback position. Now, my overall player grade for Joe Milton III, quarterback from the University of Tennessee, is a late 4th round draft pick. Thank you all for watching the scouting report / evaluation of Joe Milton III. This has been Mr. Truth, and this was nothing but the truth.